What's up, everybody? Welcome to the return episode of the Big Bang Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Marcus, and today I want to start out talking about the elephant in the room in the wrestling world today. Vince McMahon finally retires. After years and years of calling for Vince to retire due to him seemingly being out of touch with the modern fans, he retired and put out a tweet that says, "At 77, time for me to retire. Thank you, WWE Universe, then, now, together, forever." I personally want to thank Vince McMahon for all of his contributions to WWE and professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. That man is responsible for some of the greatest moments in professional wrestling. Now, where WWE goes after this is yet to be determined, because Triple H has immediately been assigned back to his role as Executive Vice President of Talent Relations, and Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan are now officially the co-CEOs of WWE. So there's been sources that I've seen, random posts and other interviews and whatnot, saying that many of the people backstage are not exactly fans of Nick Khan. So if there's any truth to that, how will the atmosphere of the locker room change? Will it be better, worse? Will we see more exits from the WWE, or will more people stay? And speaking about exits from WWE, that goes to my next topic. There's Sasha Banks and Naomi. They recently walked out right before Monday Night Raw went on the air. And Paige, her contract just recently expired. And there's been rumors that Paige has been in conversation and has been having talks with Tony Khan about joining AEW. Paige would be a good fit for the AEW roster, as it would add a huge amount of star power to the women's division. And same with Sasha Banks and Naomi. They are big stars who just have that massive following and star power and really just overall talent, because their women's division doesn't have a lot of major talent. Now you got Britt Baker, you got Thunder Rosa, Jade Cargill. All of them are great. But essentially WWE is the big leagues. Just put that out there. It is what it is. Having one of those three, or even all of them, come down to AEW and join their women's division would be a huge boost. And going back to Vince McMahon, Tony Khan has actually put out a tweet with his comments, and it says, thanks to you wrestling fans and your great support of AEW. I'm grateful to now be the longest tenured CEO in pro wrestling. Thank you very much to every single person who watches AEW. See you Friday night for Rampage on TNT. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know how much truth there is to that, of him being the longest tenured CEO, because Vince has been there for a pretty long damn time. So I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I feel that was a ill-flavored tweet to put out. And I'm sorry, Tony Khan is no Vince. I think that was very distasteful, and that just goes to serve his massive ego. Tony Khan isn't a bad booker or a bad promoter, but he's got an ego just like McMahon did. I definitely think he's in the wrong spot to be touting that right now. But again, with Vince McMahon retiring, things might change for the ratings with AEW. Back a couple of weeks ago, TNA Knockout Women's Champion Jordynn Grace had tweeted out about Chris Benoit. And those tweets have since been deleted. But I was able to get a screenshot of that tweet before it was taken down. From what I saw, it was taken down anyways. And it says, this will be the coldest take I ever tweet on this app. I already know y'all going to be mad. I don't think Benoit could 100% hang with most of the present day best wrestlers. He would not be able to remember the matches. Also, may he burn in hell. Jordynn Grace has absolutely no room to be talking about Benoit because her talent is nowhere near that level. Benoit was able to put on a great match with just about anybody, and he didn't need to remember the matches because most of those guys called the matches while they were out in the ring, playing to the crowd. Something that a lot of wrestlers don't do nowadays because they got to remember matches and the flow of the matches and what spots are supposed to be hit when. A lot of them don't have that ability to call matches as they are happening. Jordynn Grace is not that great of a wrestler. Let's just be honest. She is, like I said, she has since taken down that tweet and has been has garnered a lot of responses to that from the likes of Chris Jericho, Chavo Guerrero, and the list goes on. And then all of a sudden, a short while later, she apologized for those comments and has even been talking to David Benoit. And she had put out a tweet saying that she had made a irresponsible and unnecessary tweet and that she should have recognized the impact of her words despite her personal feelings. And now she wants to raise money and fundraise for the Concussion Legacy Foundation. So my thing is this all a publicity stunt for just so she gets some more coverage other than TNA because their viewership is not that great? Or is this just her attempt to get some cheap heat? Because she knows the Chris Benoit issue is a sensitive subject for wrestling fans and even professional wrestlers still in the industry. Me personally, I think it was her way to get some cheap heat and to get her name out there. That's all that was, I think. Because like I said, her matches ain't putting her name out there. A couple of weeks ago, WWE had their annual Money in the Bank pay-per-view where we saw Liv Morgan win the Money in the Bank ladder match and then turn around and cash in on Ronda Rousey the same night. It seems like a lot of the women here lately have been cashing in on the same night. There's not much variety to it. But, however, Liv Morgan winning the match, the Money in the Bank match, was a huge surprise. Because she didn't seem to be one that was going to be pushed that quickly. And then she turned and beat Ronda Rousey for the belt that night after Rousey had defended against Natalya, which I didn't see that coming at all. Watching the pay-per-view, did not see that happening. Apparently, Ronda Rousey, that was one of her decisions. You know, she wanted to drop the belt to Liv Morgan, being that she's one of the most motivated people backstage who loves the business. And she felt that Liv Morgan deserved that time as SmackDown Women's Champion. Then on the men's side, as a late addition to the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, Austin Theory came in and won. Theory has been dubbed as the next John Cena. I could definitely see it. I could definitely see that. And he's going to be a huge star. Some people don't care for him. Some people say it's too early. I think that WWE needs to make their own homegrown talent. And I think Austin Theory is going to be that guy. He's got the talent. He's got the mic skills, in-ring skills. He is a total package when it comes to that regard. And a lot of people think he's going to leave and do like Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley and those guys did. leave him, come back, be big. Cody Rhodes is another one. I think he's going to be around for a while, and I think he's going to remain a top talent. There's no reason for him not to. He's young. That's the only thing working against him, but his in-ring skill is just impeccable. And I think he's definitely going to eventually be a WWE World Champion. Just when they decide to pull the trigger on that remains to be seen. Right now, it looks like it may be SummerSlam, depending on who wins between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Or they might wait to do it until a later date. And while we're on the subject of SummerSlam, speaking about that, the SummerSlam main event may be in jeopardy because, according to some backstage sources, Brock Lesnar has walked out of SmackDown tonight. Brock Lesnar's walked out because he seemed to be in a pissed mood about the Vince McMahon announcements. So Brian Alvarez has said that he walked out and made the comments along the lines of, if he's gone, I'm gone. Which, to me, given the time and everything, it seemingly sounds like that Brock Lesnar is referring to Vince McMahon. So will Lesnar be at SummerSlam? Will he not? Remains to be seen. Because Brock Lesnar doesn't need the WWE money. That man's loaded already. But I think he's going to come back and do that match, according to his contractual obligations. But if he doesn't, what does that mean for SummerSlam? What does that mean for the plans behind, for Roman Reigns, Austin Theory, and the main event picture? Because Brock Lesnar was the backup plan. Brock Lesnar was the backup plan for Randy Orton being out with injury. So if Lesnar pulls out, who's plan C? Or have they even thought that far? They're going to probably chuck in somebody there last minute. Because Roman Reigns, he's just a part-timer now anyways. And he's beating everybody. Tony Khan had recently put out a tweet and had been talking about potentially doing a cross-branded pay-per-view event with WWE. He said he would be willing and open to talks to do a cross-branded event, as they have recently done with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Forbidden Door, which was a great pay-per-view, actually. I was really impressed with it. And AEW cross pay-per-view with WWE. How exactly would that play out? Because majority of these AEW guys came from WWE. So will we be seeing some of the same old matches, or will we be seeing some new matches? I think a great one to see would be, especially today, Jon Moxley, Seth Rollins, Wardlow, Lesnar. Let's see another Cody Rhodes and Omega. Would say Sasha Banks and Britt Baker, but Sasha Banks decided to walk out. Becky Lynch would be a good one to go against Britt Baker. There's a ton of potential matches that could be done. But will they go that route, or will they do some of the same matches we've seen before, just in a different company? Now, that idea of a cross-branded pay-per-view ever happening is extremely far-fetched, and most likely will never happen, but it is definitely something to think about, and as a lot of wrestling fans dream right there for a cross-branded event. And lastly, the AEW title. What are your thoughts on having a interim AEW World Champion? As of right now, Jon Moxley holds that belt. And a lot of people were not sure of how long CM Punk, who is the actual world champion, was set to be out. But the rumor is now that he's being set up to return at the next AEW pay-per-view All Out. which is in early September. So, should Jon Moxley be named the official champion, or should he remain the interim champion and then face CM Punk at All Out to determine the actual World Heavyweight Champion? Because before it was, if a champion could not defend that belt within 30 days of their previous defense, they had to relinquish the belt. But here lately, that has not been the case, as we have seen with Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, who haven't defended the title in a while. And now Punk, he's out with injury. And that has happened to him. Me personally, I like the concept of an interim champion, depending on how long that injury is. And if Punk is set to come back at All Out, that's not bad. And I think an interim setup would be great. However, say if Punk was going to be out for like a year, 9 months or so, go on and relinquish the actual world title and name Jon Moxley the actual AEW World Heavyweight Champion. That's just my thoughts. I would love to hear y'all's thoughts, comments, whatnot in the comments section, or even shoot me a DM and talk about your thoughts on anything we've talked about today, from Vince McMahon to the interim AEW title. I love hearing other people's thoughts, comments, and having these conversations with people. I'm also pretty interested in like having and open to having like different people come on the show and debate some of this stuff with me. There's no fun listening to myself talk, but I enjoy doing this. I would love to have special guests come on the show one day and share their thoughts on what's going on in professional wrestling. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in to the return episode of Big Bang Wrestling. I'm your host, Marcus, and we are out.